I want to talk today about greatness and what it is, because you know what? It is so needed in the world today, and not just for yourself, but for the planet, for humanity, and for nature. And you can achieve greatness. And when you achieve greatness, you attract greatness, and you can become the change in the world by taking action in making yourself better. So, to understand greatness, greatness to me comes from the divine feminine and the divine masculine traits. I consider the divine to be this highest source, the highest source that is ultimate love and illumination. And we have that inside of us. We see that higher source, that higher energy in nature. We see it in the planet. We see it in the universe and space, the heavens. And we see it from our Creator, which I happen to call God. Yet, you don't have to be spiritual to achieve greatness, okay? It makes it easier. I'll tell you this, it makes it easier because it's like you have this cheer squad behind you of this energy that's surrounding you and that you can turn to when you need help. But you can find that help within yourself as well. And you can achieve it and then attract it. Okay, so if you sit here saying, oh, this is what the world needs, this is what the world needs, and we need more great people, become that great person. I am going to give you 9 sampling of characteristics or attributes of greatness that I have researched and studied. And I actually try to make a very conscious effort each day to possess these qualities in my daily life. And I want you to know that when you live with greatness and you make a choice to behave a certain way, it reflects itself in your thoughts, your words, your actions, and your deeds, not only to yourself, but to others as well. And that just makes such a phenomenal change in your life. So the characteristics we're going to talk about today are adventurousness, being forgiving, acceptance, belief in self, selflessness, having leadership qualities, compassion, empathy, and also survival skills. And it's not what you think. So we're going to start with, let me see, I have leadership. I have these divine masculine and feminine cards, and leadership is when a good leader, or the kind of leader that we should be striving to be, whether we're in politics, whether we're a business owner, whatever we do, if we're in a leadership position, we should strive to encourage strategic thinking, innovation, and action. We should be ethical. That's a hard one because that's one of the problems we have in our society, at least in the United States, is there's our ethical beliefs and moral code. Something is shifting in it, and we need to get back to that ethical way of our behavior, and also being civic minded, the concern for others as well. That includes cross-cultural communication. That means that you're not denying any group when you speak or help or lead because they're of a different culture or different background. A good leader is self-aware and prioritizes their own personal development, but also focuses on the development of others. So these are just a few. You can look up leadership skills, and really, if you're like, okay, I want to be a better boss, study those characteristics and start including them in your life on a day-to-day basis. I mean, you just have to do it. And once you do that, you'll see the changes that occur around you. The next, I want to hold this belief in self, and I want to go to acceptance, because acceptance doesn't just mean that you accept others for who you are, although that is acceptance too. You accept everyone for their unique differences other than what you possess. But it's also that you accept yourself. And, sometimes things happen in our lives and we carry these heavy feelings. We have to be able to detach from them and accept that it happened for you and not necessarily to you. And be at peace with any of these scary or difficult times that we may be facing. So that to me is what acceptance is. Accept what has happened and let it go. Be at peace with it. That doesn't mean to forget it. That doesn't mean to ignore it, that it never happened. Accept it, understand it, and say, this didn't happen to me. This just happened in my life. It wasn't specifically done to me. Although I know that's kind of hard because you feel, well, something was done. This person acted this way. Well, if you think of it, if there's a higher path and a higher plan for us all, and you're living your life on a day-to-day basis with good behavior and some of these great character traits, then that hasn't happened to you. It's happened for you. It's a protection. It's a detour in your life. It's to turn you a different direction. So acceptance. Okay, I'll do belief. Believe in yourself, or belief in yourself wants to keep coming out. And this is when you believe in your own abilities to accomplish great things. And you move forward in profound ways for your future. So belief in yourself really has to do with your daily conversation too. What you tell yourself on a day-to-day basis. You want to change your conversation. You know, I heard someone from mentioned this the other day and said, you know, your conversation with yourself is the most important, because if you don't want to allow someone else to speak to you that way, you shouldn't speak to yourself that way. So you have to believe in your capabilities, believe what you're able to do, and that really is a divine characteristic. So we'll go on to selflessness. Okay, so selflessness is when you're concerned with the needs and wants of others, and you're generous and kind to them. Now, I know some people will say, well, what about me? Well, there has to be a balance. You're okay to be in that equation. What you'll start seeing is, as you achieve greatness and more of these characteristics and traits, you actually become less important. So you're not concerned with what about me? Because you'll have everything you want on a day-to-day. You know, you have everything you want in your daily life, so you won't need to want more. And that doesn't mean, when I'm talking about want or need, it's not in material possessions. It's a sense of self, a sense of happiness, a sense of love and joy and bliss that, to be honest with you, material things have never provided for me. Those kind of thoughts and feelings and emotions have always come from inside. But a selfless person also gives to others without looking for personal gain. A lot of times someone says, you know, I did all this and I'm so selfless, but they have an expectation in return. You can't have an expectation. You cannot want personal gain back, because then it's not really true selflessness. We'll go on to forgiveness. Whew, this is hard for some people to let go of resentment and the need for revenge, but we have to. We have to free ourselves from the harm done to us and really free ourselves from it. That doesn't mean forgetting it. That means forgiving it. So there's different, and letting it go, not making it part of your day-to-day life. So it's kind of like you are forgetting it, but you know that, you know, you're not turning your back on it. You'll recognize it if it happens again, and you know who or what situation that occurred in, and you're like, okay, I know that I cannot get myself into that same position again. I will make better choices. But it's understanding too that people have their reasons for the way they act, including bad behaviors, and you don't need to make the actions of another your own. Okay, you don't have to think, why did they do this to me? It's like, they did that because that's who they are. And it could have been you or anybody else, and they would have still behaved that way. They're their actions, not your own. We'll go on to, I have a cat visiting. I don't know if she'll come down. Gypsy is my little black rescue cat. But we'll go on to being adventurous. And adventure, you know, being adventurous, and why is this a divine feminine or masculine characteristics? Because you have to be willing to take the risks, to try new methods, ideas, experiences, take those chances, and motivated to try new things even when they may be intimidating to you. So yes, I think adventurousness is very important in having these divine higher characteristics within ourselves. My last three today kind of go together, and I was very excited to pull these cards. I know for sure it's being compassionate and then empathy, and they're very two different things. So being compassionate means that you are feeling or showing sympathy and concern for others. You have that feeling within you. That's your feeling that you generated because of the situation they're going through, and you have a desire for relieving their suffering. That's compassion. That's being compassionate. Now, there's empaths out there, and empathy is a little bit different. Empathy is when you share their feelings. They have the feeling, they're going in that situation, and you absorb that feeling, or you can sense what it may feel like to go through that same type of bad luck or a grief, accident, whatever it is. You then share in the feelings. Now, there's three types of empathy. There's cognitive, emotional, and compassionate. Cognitive is when you perceive someone else's mind. You're like, I feel that they're thinking this or this. I know a lot of empaths. To me, cognitive is that personal lie detector, or your own lie detector, where you're perceiving something in your mind. You sense a shift somehow in their energy or in their thoughts. Emotional is when you share their feelings, feel what they feel. That, I think, a lot of times empaths feel that is the hardest part of being an empath, because they actually feel the emotions that's not their own, and it's hard to detach from that. But there's methods and ways that you can do to protect yourself. And then finally, compassionate empathy is when you understand the emotions without taking them on yourself. So see how that goes with being compassionate? It's like feeling or showing sympathy for them or concern, but it's not necessarily what they're feeling. So that's empathy. And then the last card is survival. So I don't mean like going out, which I can mean, because it is divine to characteristic to be self-sustainable and provide your own food and, things that your needs, your personal needs for surviving. But I also mean for survival is to live and exist in spite of what's happened to you, in spite of any accidents, in spite of any ordeals, in spite of any difficult circumstances. You are not taking that victim energy. You are taking a survivor energy, one of survival, where you're capable of doing what it takes to continue on with life, and in a good way, and not let whatever issue or circumstance going on in your life or in the world stop you from doing that. I hope you enjoyed this video when I talk about greatness, because I know that, I strive every day to become as close to the highest person and the highest self that I can be. And it's a difficult journey. These that I've mentioned here are easy for me, but there's some of these characteristic cards that are very difficult to obtain, because we have egos, not egos that inside of us. It's part of our dynamic, and those egos tend to take over sometimes in our decisions or choices, and we have to separate ourselves from that emotional response to really say, okay, I can be better than this. I can make myself better than this. And why? Because we have to. We have to. We have to make change in the world. We can do it together. You can do this. It's choices. It's free. It's easily done. It's a conscious effort. And it's going back to that, your thoughts, your words, your actions, and your deeds. Make a choice to say to yourself, what can I do for something other than my something, or someone other than myself today? And start incorporating little actions that way, or deeds for others, and also yourself. Don't forget about yourself, because the more you do that for yourself, it's like I said, you get to this place where you're like, I don't need this anymore. My purpose is now to provide this for other people. And don't we want that? Don't we want superheroes? Because to me, that's a characteristic of a superhero. You look at these movies that come out like Eternals, Wonder Woman, the Aquaman, Batman, and they have these characteristics. They care about other people. They care about doing the right thing. They care about when something is done wrong to another group or individual, and want to they make choices to make a difference. Now, if you see, that's the struggle in some of these movies. They really don't want it because it's hard, it's difficult. But we can do these things. We may not have superpowers, but love to me is a superpower. Generosity is the superpower, because it's really harder to give up something that's yours than to get it. Okay? So generosity is a superpower. Kindness, the ones I talked about today, empathy, compassion, forgiveness, those are hard decisions to make sometimes because our ego gets in the way, but we can make those decisions. It just takes a little effort on our part. And when we make that effort, we become great.